We're taking a little break. I want to show you a very special car, a 1966 MGB. Lots of them, right? Not like this. This is a factory created and built race car made for Sebring in 1966. Whoa! What? Holy shit! What?
So happy birthday, Dave! Say, Mike Eaton couldn't be here today to give you your birthday gift.
Are you kidding me?
But there's your race car.
Remember I told you about winning the champion? This is the car!
That's the race.
Oh my God!
He's in shock.
Oh,
Yes, for what?
So tell me about the car. Tell me about the car. What do you think of seeing it after all these years?
I'm flabbergasted. I mean, hey buddy, how are you? The last race. No, we had it in the Trans Am too, but slightly before then. You know, 1974 was the huge problem with gasoline. With big lines, if you had an even number plate, you could only get gas on even numbered days. So Autosport and Kendall Oil and Goodyear, were our sponsors, decided to back off, and we weren't going to race so much in '74 because gasoline was up to like 40 cents a gallon. It was incredible. It was so expensive. So Watkins Glen gave us some starting money to come to a regional race. And so we had to run. I mean, you got to understand, SCCA club racing, great guys, great cars. But when you have a full-on professional car, it's very different. They're very, very, very fast. So we ran our 2-liter BMW against Corvettes and Camaros and Mustangs and all that kind of stuff. And so on the second lap of the race, there was a Corvette in front of me. I had pulled up to like 3rd or 4th overall. And going up Watkins Glen, there's a very steep hill, very narrow, because that's where the bridge to the infield comes. So this guy is looking in his mirror, looking in his mirror, looking in his mirror, because there was a lot of publicity that the 1973 Camel GT Champ car is going to be here. And he was being kind. He didn't want to run me off the road. Yet he's got the power. We're going down the straight. There's no way I can stay with him. Well, he lost control, spun the car out in between these guardrails, hit the guardrail, and I thought I had him missed, but he spun back, and I T-boned him. This poor car was dented and crushed back to about here. The crash was so severe that glass from the windshield, I had it in my driver's shoes. Don't ask me about that impact, but it was pretty hard. We were probably well over 100 miles an hour when I hit him. We both survived. It was fine. We got the car rebuilt and took it out for one more race, and gosh, I haven't seen her since. I mean, that's the exact mirror. Those are the clips. I mean, you see the black tape on the clips? I mean,
so how long has it been?
1974. Long time. I built the roll cage. I welded the roll cage, bent it, and be damned.
Hey, there's something I got to give you. It's in the. It's so tight in here. I got to reach my monkey arms in there to get it for you. So, give me 1 second.
You had no idea where the car was been?
No, I mean, I thought it was still up in New York.
It was.
So that's for you to open.
You got this. Another little surprise.
Yes, another little surprise. Oh my God.
Well, let me see it.
I hope your body can fit back in it.
I don't think so, but oh.
Well, that's not very nice.
Hold it up, Penny. Oh, nice.
You should have. What we need is for you to find a picture of me wearing this way back.
Oh, you mean
when I had one color black hair?
We've got it.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are the days. Oh my God, this is crazy.
Blast from the past, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh wow.
Here you go.
Let's see.
You mean that picture right there?
Wow.
You have to turn to the left, Dave, and we'll get the profile shot.
Yeah, but one color hair,
Exactly the same.
Still awfully good
Exactly
looking.
the same.
Yeah.
Look at this! I can't believe it. You know, this year, in 2018, vintage racing. There used to be a lot of sedan racing. I mean, Trans Am and the Camel GT was full of cars. It was a legendary time. It was Camaro versus Dodge versus Ford. I mean, you had some great drivers, great competition going on. And so the SVRA has started for this year a B sedan class.
Yep.
And so Kevin and I, we were actually talking about, boy, wouldn't it be great if we could get a BMW and go back in. I guarantee you there's plenty of people who would recognize this old car. I mean, we went from Road Atlanta to Indianapolis to Mid-Ohio to Thompson Speedway to Watkins Glen, I mean everywhere, because we had to get points. And I remember very well at Pocono, we were leading by a lap and a half. We really were we won the championship. We were fast. And so I started the race. John McGee took over the middle section. It was a long race, like 500 miles, which is long. And so I got back out in the car, and boom, it dropped to 3 cylinders. Brrr, holy mackerel, what are we going to do? So I pull in, and you got to understand, Jerry was an absolute genius mechanic. I mean, the story of him should be a film by itself. I mean, he took his little brother over his arm. His dad had been killed, and he and his mom walked out of what was then Czechoslovakia into West Germany to escape the Soviets after the World War II. Incredible. Hell of a mechanic. Well, I'm pulling into the pits, and he says, "Oh, it's what's happened." And so I get out of the car, right? It's on 3 cylinders. What are you going to do? We got another 100 miles to go. Or so he pops the valve cover off. If you've ever looked at a BMW, it's a big, big valve cover. Pops it off. He looks. We have a broken rocker arm. Okay, fine. He says, "Nicolas," because he still had the, "Nicolas, get back in the car. We are going." I said, "Jerry, we got a broken rocker arm." "Shut up. Get back in the car, Nicolas. We are going." So he takes the pieces out, throws them away, takes the spark plug out so it wouldn't, there'd be no compression. We fire the car up and we finished 4th. That's what kind of guy he was. Jerry was not easily put off. I mean, thinking of his history, he was quite a guy. That was a heck of a race. In Indianapolis Raceway Park that year, which was one of the last races of the year, qualifying was in the rain. It was a super rainy day. So the Camaros and the Corvettes and all the big cars, they couldn't use their power. So I qualified 3rd. So John Bishop, who was just a fabulous man and totally responsible for IMSA. I mean, he created IMSA. He came to me and he said, "Dave, look, you qualified 3rd. That's a fabulous thing. But tomorrow it's going to be dry, and you're going to have 600 horsepower cars just running all over you." He said, "How about if we just put you behind the fastest cars, start you about 12th?" I said, "John, that's what you want, that's what we should do." But that would have been hell of something, right? A 2-liter BMW starting 3rd in a full-born American Le Mans race, huh? That would have been great fun. But I think, I don't know, I think something happened to the car and we finished 2nd or 3rd there, but we still got a lot of points, but it was great fun. Indianapolis Raceway Park. Most people think of Indianapolis Speedway and they don't even know there is such a thing as Indianapolis Raceway Park. Yeah. Big drag strip.
Now it's Lucas Oil or something?
Yeah, could probably, but best known for being a great drag strip. Look at this.
Let's look at this.
God. If you want to see something funny, you see the roll cage, the front part. I bent it a little too wide.
It's too far out that way.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, right here, yeah.
Okay, so
And Jerry said, "Don't worry about it."
holy mackerel.
Jeez, I've got to bet that's the original Recaro seat. I mean, this is the exact way that we tied down the net, is we just put a bar in the net, which was up there. Yeah, he's got it's zip tied there. We'd bring it down and then just clip that in so that your hand couldn't come out. In this part of the roll cage, when I bent it, it was the radius was a little wider than we wanted, but it was fine on the floor. So we just kept it that way and figured it was extra protection. That's what I think we lied to everybody and told them that this was on purpose. It wasn't. Yeah, look at that! It's still got the same old ignition, the box. Holy cow!
Look up. You smile.
Yeah. No, yeah, 10,000 RPM tack, and this thing would go to 8. Yep, there was never a problem with this car going to 8,000. You can see too how how we had the shoulder harness was a V rather than 2, and it was kind of at an angle where, I mean, you know, it's a no-no these days. You want to have the shoulder harness coming straight out, not from down below. What happens is it'll just bend with you, and it won't provide the coverage. Where if it's straight, it can't go anywhere. You know, we didn't know any better. And of course, here's the fire suppression system looking right at the driver. It does have a brake pedal. Yeah, this is definitely not the original steering wheel. I wonder if it still has the same transmission or not.
It's got a 5-speed 320i box.
Oh, it really?
Yep,
Yeah, we had the old Getrag.
I've got those too.
You got the Getrag? This car is not the original Autosport race car. The original Autosport race car was yellow and black, and it was an absolute gorgeous car. It had the big wide Schnitzer flares on the backside. It was a 1600, and it was yellow and black. It went out for its first time at Lime Rock in 1971, maybe, or 72. And what happened is that because it was a 1600, it had 1600 hubs on the backside. So with these big tires, poor John McGee was in the downhill at Lime Rock, which is a scary enough turn all by itself. The hub broke, and he rolled the car about 4 or 5 times. It was an absolute total wreck. So they brought the car back. The bodywork was gone. All the fiberglass, everything was gone. Jerry had a used 1968, 2002. It was a used car. He says, "We are going to build this. We will race by the end of the year." It was a spring race in Lime Rock. It says right here, 68 BMW 2002. So we took this, we cut the top off, because the roll cage that I had built for the other car was still fine. The engine was fine. The transmission was fine. So we simply cut the roll bar out of the old wrecked car, welded in new plates on the floor, plopped that in, put the top back on, and started making a race car. And by August, she was back. Jerry he didn't want to pay the money for those big flares. And he said, the yellow and black is gone. We're going to paint it silver and blue. And that's how the paint scheme came out. These, I believe, are BMW colors. I don't recall exactly what they are, but it's always been this two-tone blue. And so that's how this car came about. Is the original one was just totally destroyed. We found this as a used car, stripped everything, all the soundproofing, and there were a bunch of us guys that just took everything and stripped this car to bare metal. And then we put the roll cage in, put the top back on. I believe, maybe we shouldn't talk about this, but hey, if Smokey Unit got away with it, and Penske got away with it, and Petty got away with it, you'll take a look, and if you put this on, you'll find that it's just slightly narrower and slightly more curved to the back than the original 2002 top. But it was not a problem. They would not let us get rid of the drip rails, so we kept those, but we kind of filled them in and did everything we could to make sure the car would be aerodynamically straight. Again, if you take a look at the rear windows on this, normally there's a latch in there and they slide out. And normally on a BMW, there's probably a ½ an inch of space on either side. There's no space on these. And they're all plexiglass. So this is not, these are, oh, that feels like glass, but if it is, it shouldn't be. In the old car, it was plexiglass, and so was the back plexiglass. You had to have the standard glass in front, but we did a lot of, again, the thing is that we're a private team today, right? It's pretty much Kevin, Mike, and myself and Rosemary who makes sure that we stay fed, and we race cars, and we do very well with them. It was kind of the same here. Max Hoffman and Hoffman Motors and Jerry were great friends, so we got a lot of parts, we got a lot of secret things that maybe weren't possible, but we were a private team. We just had a genius mechanic, builder, engineer, I mean, he just was really something.
Because there wasn't a factory team back then.
There was no factory team. No, factory team came in '74.
So you were like the de facto factory team
No, we were.
before.
Yes, yeah, we were the factory team before BMW came. The sad part is that we knew the CSLs were coming in '74, and we were supposed to get one. The one car was going to go to an outfit in near New York City, and the other CSL was to come to us. And instead, John Buffum out of New Hampshire, well, again, a very fast guy who had a great team. Somehow or the other, he convinced BMW to give him the CSLs. CSLs went to Vermont, and he ran them. Not very successfully that year. Some of the guys will say, "Oh yeah, we did great. The cars were junk." I think not. I think had we had one, we would have done even better.
History proves that was a winning car.
Yeah, history did prove that the next year,
They
when they
dominated.
got rid of Buffum and brought the factory guys over, the cars started winning like crazy.
Yeah.
But it's always been, you know, in the dark of night when it's cold and it's rainy and the wind is blowing, you know, I lay there in bed and say, where the hell would we have been if we had gotten those CSLs? You know? Hey, we're done very well. No regrets. It's just it would have been wonderful to have one of those cars. But I can't believe this car is back. Nazdar is the Czech word for let's have a drink. When you say skol or prost, Nazdar, like this. And what it was when we went by, thank you, see ya. So that was Jerry's way. What you see here is a very early dry brake system for fueling. In the old days, you used to just dump fuel into it, but around 1972 or so, the sanctioning bodies knew that the refueling was pretty dangerous. So you had to have a dry brake. It was the same thing that really people were using in helicopters in Vietnam. You would take this thing, you had a probe, you'd push it in there, and the fuel would go. When it hit overflow, of course, here was the pressure here and here. When you saw the fuel coming out there, you knew you were full. And it was much safer.
And was that before or after you put your cigarette out?
Well, yeah. I smoked in those days, no question.
It was the Camel GT after.
It was the Camel GT series, and truth be told, in the famous Goodyear driver suit, I always had a pack of cigarettes with 2 cigarettes and matches.
So the idea behind all this is that
Yes.
we get it to Watkins Glen for the 50th anniversary of BMW 2002 and Bark's 60th anniversary party. Doesn't have to race, has to be there under its own power. And FCP is going to help us with that.
What do you have? What's this?
Well, we got, obviously when you're up there, there's no engine in it. But
True.
the engine was out of the car because they were putting the 5-speed gearbox in the race car. So the engine was taken out and untouched. So this is the race motor. I just had it covered so you couldn't see it.
Yeah, because that's not an MG motor.
Nope.
Look at the Webers, huh? Again, this was something that in those days there was a BMW 2002 TII. The injection just was horrible. So everybody went with what was called a TI, or Touring International, and that had the 45 DCOE Webers.
Now,
Yeah.
the special thing that's really kind of neat is that before they got the car out from Jerry's family, Jerry had put aside a motor that he said that was to go with the car and to not sell this, because they sold off a bunch of his stuff.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure that the original motor stayed with the car, but this is the motor that came with the car that Jerry said, make sure that you don't sell this motor. And what it is it's a TISA motor.
No, it's a TISA motor, yeah.
So that casting right there, this is one of the 200 motors that were built for homologation for the TISAs.
Yeah, see, when I said 2002 TI, it's Touring International Special Automobile. BMW raced these. I mean, there's still guys racing 1800 TISAs, and they destroyed everything in Europe. The Germans, these things made 200 horsepower in the early 70s. Well, we made 200 in the middle 70s, but wow, a TISA head. This is rare.
Yeah, if you look at the porting on this motor, if you can get
Take
in there,
a look in here.
Get a
I mean,
light on it.
you talk about being able to breathe.
But if you look at that combustion chamber,
yeah, That's the intake valve right there, buddy. Let the gas flow.
So the plan is, since this is such a rare motor, there are people out there that have a TISA homologation car that don't have their motor.
Oh, there's a couple guys in England that I know, race Tisas, that would love to have that.
So what we're
But
planning on doing
Look at
is,
this. This is an aluminum flywheel.
it is, it's a special aluminum,
Yeah.
lightened aluminum flywheel.
So you're planning on flipping the engine?
Well, the engine, we're
Help one of them.
hoping to be able to get it to a person that has a TISA that needs a motor, and in exchange, turn this into a race motor that's ready to drop in.
Right.
So I think that would be a fair exchange.
I don't know. I'd
He's like, I'll
keep them both.
I'll keep them both.
Yep, keep them both. Yep. Keep them both, and we'll figure out the money.
So you can see on the difference on the valve cover here where they put an extra breather and TIG welded it in,
Yep.
because they had to have an overflow for any kind of spent oil that would come out of the crankcase.
Yep. And well, Jerry pretty much figured this was not a big enough.
Right.
It wouldn't have vented it. He wanted to get rid of all any possible compression up there that would slow things down.
Yep.
Yep. Hell of a day.
Footage, a lot of.
And this is not even April, so it's not April Fool. I mean, I could touch it.
She's beautiful.
So